businessmen founded Service Games in 1946. That's where the name Sega comes from.
Hold
There
up.
is
There we
one
go.
suggestion that keeps popping up. Well, in fact, it is by far
Sega!
the most requested video on my channel. So here you go.
I mean, I'm very curious about Sega's, because there was.
This is the evolution of.
I feel like the Dreamcast was way
Sega's
like
history begins
underrated,
in
man. It was a
sunny Hawaii,
godlike
where
console.
businessmen founded Service Games in 1946. That's
Service
where the name
Games?
Sega comes from. It's an abbreviation of service and games. Service because of
Oh,
military service, and
SEH.
games because the company provided slot machines for U.S. military bases. However,
Oh, shit.
when the U.S. government banned slot machines in 1952, Martin Bromley, one of the original founders, sent employees to Tokyo to establish Service Games of Japan to provide slot machines to U.S. bases in Japan. However, the U.S. government came knocking on the door again in 1960 for investigating criminal business practices.
Oh,
Service Games changed its name, stopped focusing on slot machines, and moved away from U.S. military bases. The company acquired Rosen Enterprises to form Sega Enterprises. Sega imported coin-operated amusement machines like jukeboxes, pinball machines, and gun games.
These are
were
awesome.
Secondhand and often required frequent maintenance. This led to the company developing its own games. Their first official game was a submarine simulator called Periscope,
Submarine?
which was released globally in the late 1960s. From there, Sega edged its way into the booming arcade market, becoming one of the top 5 arcade game manufacturers in the United States. During the early 80s, Sega created many games.
Oh, I remember that
and
game.
Revenues rose to $214 million.
goddamn.
When the arcade market took a downturn, though, Sega moved into home consoles. Fun fact.
Fun
the name
fact?
Sega was first used in 1954 on a slot machine called the Diamond Star.
Oh, really?
Sega first made the SC1000, a
What
computer
the
with a
hell?
built-in keyboard. But when Sega learned that Nintendo had plans to create a games-only console, they decided to do the same. This was the start of the console wars between Sega
Oh,
and
so they were
Nintendo
going
that
PC
continued
route,
for many
but they
years
made a
to come.
console instead?
Both the SC1000 and the Famicom were released in Japan on exactly the same day, July 15th, 1983.
Computer
Games that
video
were
game.
featured in the SG1000 lineup included Super Tank,
I didn't know that
Congo
existed.
Bongo, which looks a lot like
That's
Donkey Kong,
Mario.
Space Invaders, a true classic arcade game,
Oh, that's classic.
and James
W.
Bond 007, which was the second James Bond game in the whole franchise. And although these games were fun, they weren't as popular and recognizable as many of the Nintendo games, like Donkey Kong,
Yeah, true. The music.
Kong Jr.,
I didn't like Donkey Kong Jr.
and Popeye.
when I played it on Donkey Kong 64. No. I played it
Nonetheless,
on the
SC1000
Wii or something.
became a huge success.
What?
While Sega expected to have sold 50,000 units by the end of 1983, they ended up selling 160,000 units.
Oh, shit.
The SG-1000 Mark II came out a year after the first console. It
Oh,
was
wow.
redesigned and had a port to connect an optional keyboard. There was
Oh,
also
shit.
an optional add-on called the Card Catcher that allowed users to play Sega card games in addition to cartridges.
Oh,
Fun
damn.
fact, Hideki Sato, who designed many of
I
the
didn't know
Sega
any of this
consoles,
existed.
thought the original cartridges looked like small black tombstones, so he replaced them with Sega My Cards. He later stated that it was one of his proudest achievements during the SG-1000 era.
I like the cards. I mean, now the Switch
In
takes that,
October
right?
1985,
And
the Sega Mark
DS and
III
all
was
that?
launched in Japan, which featured enhanced graphical capabilities over its predecessors. However, the console was not successful at launch. One
Wait,
year
what?
later, the Sega Mark III was completely rebranded as the Master System for its launch in North America.
They have rear
with the hope that
handheld,
it would be
too.
better than it did in Japan. The pressure was very, very high, Sega developer Mark Cerny said. So high that an average game would only have 3 months of development time. No
Oh,
wonder many
damn.
games at launch weren't that memorable. Luckily, more memorable games.
They still
than
work
the
better than
following
Cyberpunk
years, including
2077.
Prince of Persia, Castle of Illusion, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and last but definitely not
Sonic
least,
the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog. which would become the most recognizable and popular franchise for Sega. Nintendo had also rebranded their Famicom system for the North American market with the NES or Nintendo Entertainment System. Both Sega and Nintendo spent around $15 million to promote their consoles in North America.
God damn.
Master System. With more accurate controls, more detailed graphics, more levels of play. Awesome.
In 1990, Sega released
Sega
the
Master
System 2, a cheaper and smaller model in North America and Europe. While Nintendo dominated the American market, Sega was successful in Europe. But overall, Sega turned out to be no match for Nintendo.
Oh my god.
Because of their hugely successful and popular franchises like Donkey Kong, Metroid,
Zelda, Mario,
The Legend of Zelda,
yeah,
and of course, Super Mario Brothers.
Goddamn Nintendo!
While the Sega Master System sold around 13 million units globally, Nintendo managed to sell a whopping 62 million units of the
damn.
NES. Fun fact, while most people associate Sonic the Hedgehog with Sega and recognize him as their mascot, Alex the Kid was actually Sega's first mascot. He first appeared on the Master System in 1986.
Wait, what?
And Alex Kidd in Miracle.
Who the hell is Alex the Kid?
When the Master System 2 came out, it would typically have Alex Kidd pre-installed on the system.
Oh. I guess it's never too late to change your mascot characters.
Sega unleashed their masterpiece, the Sega Genesis,
16-bit.
Mega Drive outside of the US. It was the first 16-bit console, which was a huge leap forward compared to its 8-bit predecessor. This meant that games were more fluid, 3D, faster,
Yeah,
and
like
much more color.
Super Nintendo.
Sega
Okay.
heavily promoted their console's revolutionary blast processing, which allowed gamers to enjoy high-speed titles like Sonic. The
Sonic.
console had some tough competition with the Super
Nintendo. Oh man, it's so hard.
SNES.
Star
Nintendo at
Fox,
this point had a much bigger
Mario,
following,
Zelda,
also
Metroid,
so Sega had to think outside of the box to gain more attention. That's when they released their ad campaign and started to take jabs at Nintendo.
What if you don't have blast processing?
Oof.
And one of my favorite commercials of all time.
16-bit arcade hits. What Nintendo?
While Nintendo is very family friendly,
Yeah.
with cute fun games like Super Mario World, Sega wasn't, and released games like Mortal Kombat, which has often been criticized for its unrestrained
Yes.
graphic and bloody violence. But Sega also had many friendly titles like Disney's Aladdin.
So they were going for like teenagers. Like their marketing.
Of course, the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Nintendo had Mario as their mascot, and Sega also wanted an iconic mascot. This, of course, became Sonic. However, finding a great mascot wasn't easy. Sega made
Yeah, it was somebody else. It was
this rabbit.
Oh my god.
American Wolf.
Oh my god.
Sega
What?
made a wise decision to use Sonic. Sonic was fast.
What the
edgy,
hell?
just like
Wait,
the
wait,
Sega
wait,
Genesis
hold on,
was
hold on,
meant
hold
to
on.
be mascot Wolf. Eventually.
What the? I see what they were going for this one. It's like Mickey Mouse. Imagine that as a Sega mascot. Weird.
Including this rabbit. And an American
Or that's the most weird too.
Eventually,
The
Sega
fuck.
made a wise decision to use Sonic. Sonic was fast and edgy, just like the Sega Genesis was meant to be. Sega released a smaller and lighter version of the console dubbed the Genesis 2 in 1993.
Ah,
In
the year I
addition,
was born.
A handheld version called the Genesis Nomad came out in 1995, with the ability to play the same cartridges on a portable device. It had some powerful technical specs and was the first 16-bit handheld. The handheld was based on the Megajet, which was designed for use on airline flights in Japan.
Ah,
which is
what the?
pretty cool, I guess.
The hell?
The Genesis Nomad sold about 1 million units, but was considered a commercial failure. Overall, the Sega Genesis with all its variants ended up selling 35 million units, and came closer than ever before to Nintendo. However, Nintendo still got the upper hand by selling over 49 million
Oh,
units
okay. It
of
wasn't
the
too
SNES.
crazy.
Fun
Compare.
fact,
That wasn't too
South
crazy.
Korea had a ban on Japanese products.
No
Nintendo
shit.
distributed their SNES console by Hyundai, and it received the name Super Comboy. Sega,
Oh
on the other hand,
my
distributed
God.
their Sega Genesis console by Samsung, and it received the bizarre name Super Aladdin Boy.
Aladdin boy? What the hell? That's weird. That
The
is weird.
Genesis Nomad wasn't Sega's first attempt at a handheld console. That honor fell to
Didn't
the
it
Game
release
Boy, which
those?
was released in 1990.
Oh no,
It
they
was up
released
against
those.
The Game Boy. Yeah, Sega really couldn't catch a break. And its specs were actually very impressive for the time and far superior to the Game Boy.
Yeah, it is.
It even had a color screen long before Nintendo released the Game Boy Color. However, the extra power needed to run Sega's Game Gear meant that battery life was a lot shorter. It only had around 4 hours of battery life compared to the 30-hour battery life of the Game Boy. It also costs significantly more than its rival, priced at $149 at launch.
No, it was 100?
To just $89.
Oh.
Third-party game developers weren't interested in developing games for the Game Gear. That led to a game library that was very similar to that seen on the Master System, with games like Prince of Persia, Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Of course.
The Game Boy ended up outselling Sega's handheld by more than 10 times.
Yeah, it was too
Totaling
advanced at that
118
time.
million sales compared to the Game Gear's 10.6 million.
Yeah, it was too advanced at the time. They didn't have the right spec, especially for the battery life.
In 1991, Sega released a peripheral for the Genesis called the Sega CD, also known as the Mega CD, outside of the US.
Yeah, those are rare now. The cases are huge and
Since the
big.
processing power of the original system was boosted, and games could be played on CD, which allowed for games to be nearly 320 times larger than the Genesis cartridges.
Hey, you still don't have a Sega CD? What are you waiting for, Nintendo to make one? You have seen the games, right? Wrong answer, man. Show 'em.
A total of 205 games were made for it, including Mickey Mania,
Yeah.
Sonic CD.
I had that one
Batman
too.
Returns,
I had Sonic CD. I didn't know it was rare, and I traded off for stupid stuff.
where players do nothing but drive a bus on a desert road for miles on end. It is widely considered to be the most boring game of all time.
Why would that be a good
The
game?
Sega CD performed poorly compared to its parent console. Only 2.2 million Sega CDs were
Oh, it
sold.
was an add-on. That's the
Fun
thing,
fact,
though.
In 1993,
It wasn't
the
a
United
console.
States Congress began to hold hearings on video game violence marketed towards children.
Mortal
Sega was
Kombat.
known for its violent games, including
Oh,
Sega CD's
Night Trap.
a terrible horror game. This scene sparked a lot of controversy as it was seen as too violent. Surprisingly, it isn't that graphic at all. This even led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, which gives age and content ratings to video games.
ESRB
The
are
controversy
bullshit
got
now.
Sega a lot of publicity.
They're adding a lot of
and
gambling
reinforced
stuff
the
on
edgy attitude
on
of the
games.
company. But that edginess wasn't seen on the Sega Pico, released in 1994. It was designed as an educational.
Oh,
device
Austin
that
Creed bought
consisted
one of
for
those,
children
I think, in
aged
one of his
between
videos.
2 and 8 years old. Children could play games like Tails and the Music Maker and Sonic the Hedgehog's Game World. In 2005, Sega launched an updated version of the Pico called the Advanced Pico Bina, which
What the
also
hell?
worked as a handheld. The Pico was a hit in Japan, but failed to catch on elsewhere. Still, Sega reported sales of 3.8 million Pico
Wasn't that bad.
consoles, so it still did better than the Sega CD. In a last-ditch attempt to prolong the life of the Genesis even further, Sega released another peripheral in 1994.
The
The
32.
Sega of America and Sega of Japan had their differences if the 32X should have been a peripheral or a new console. These two would continue to clash over many disagreements. The
It should have been a new
32X added
console.
support for 32-bit games as opposed to just 16-bit games, and was therefore capable of playing ROM cartridges that were different to the Genesis itself.
It should have made a new
Titles
console.
that players could enjoy on the 32X were Doom, Mortal Kombat 2,
Nice. Mortal Kombat 2 is the classic. Virtual.
Knuckles Chaotix, a Sonic game that features Knuckles as the main character. Only 800,000 units were sold, and the 32X is considered a commercial failure.
Yeah, this should have released as a own console. Because if you add an add-on, people don't really buy add-ons as much.
The successor to the Sega Genesis is the Sega Saturn, released in 1994 in Japan and a few months later with a different design in North America. However, they shot themselves in the foot when launching the console in America, as they made a surprise announcement during E3 that the Saturn would be available that same day. While Sega thought this would be a major win and a positive surprise for everyone, they didn't count on annoying all the retailers who hadn't been told and weren't prepared for the rush. Walmart and Best Buy even refused to stock the system and its games at all due to the poor communication. To make matters worse, Sega's price of $399 was seen as a good value by their own staff until Sony announced that their new console, the original PlayStation,
oh no, $100 cheaper.
The Nintendo 64 that year too.
Oof.
Due to long-standing disagreements between Sega of Japan and Sega of America, Tom Kalinske, the CEO of Sega of America, left the company. Sega's marketing team did little to help either, freaking out their audience with more weird adverts that didn't really showcase the system's abilities.
He will lead you.
I mean, I remember PS3 had some weird ass
While some
commercials.
Classics like Virtua Fighter did make it onto the Saturn, there never came a Sonic 4, which wasn't a smart move by Sega. Instead, players received Sonic R.
It had great music.
And Sonic 3D Blast.
That was weird. That was a weird one.
It was no surprise that Saturn turned out to be another failure for Sega, only selling 9.3 million units compared to sales of 32.9 million Nintendo 64s and 102.4 million PlayStations.
Bad marketing. Oh my god, most underrated system of all time. It has some amazing exclusive games on there.
Sega's final attempt at a serious gaming console,
And it ran better games too, by the way. It ran Marvel's Capcom 2, I believe runs better on Dreamcast than on PlayStation 2.
Some games used it to show additional data, like inventory or maps. The Dreamcast was considered to be ahead of its time and was initially successful. The launch was decent as well. There was Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, that's the one where my brother got the first one. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat Gold.
Round 2. Fight.
Crazy Taxi, come on, where are you?
Plus, later there came
Marvel's Capcom,
versus Capcom 2, Sonic Adventure 2, and many others. Even the price at launch of $199 seemed reasonable. However, the gaming gods were once again not on Sega's side. Despite some early success, the Dreamcast failed to gain enough momentum before the wildly popular PlayStation 2 came out in 2000.
Even though Dreamcast was still running better.
Sega only sold 9.1
on the arcade
million
games
units compared to sales of 24 million for the original Xbox.
Oh, PS2 still sold way more. Yeah, PS2 was godlike. PS2 was godlike. Like in marketing and the selling.
18 months after its release in North America. With yet another failure, Sega lost a massive amount of money. In the last year of the Dreamcast alone, Sega lost $200 million. No wonder they decided to stop making video game consoles. Instead,
the Dreamcast was really good.
And surprisingly, ever since, they've been working with companies like Nintendo rather than trying to...
Which was very smart.
Them. Who would have thought? How many of Sega's consoles did you own? Which was your favorite?
I only owned the Dreamcast. Yeah, they had a bad luck. Dreamcast had bad luck. Because it actually run games better than the PS2. Some of the games, like especially like the one I keep bringing up was the Marvel's Capcom 2. It ran better on that console than the PS2. It's just that PS2 had way better marketing than any other console, especially how much it sold. Freaking godlike, yo. But yeah, Dreamcast was ahead of its time. Dreamcast was ahead of its time. They are, in my opinion, they revolutionized some games. Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. Yeah, but it's just still making games, right?